If this, look at this, this is the glamour of the Radio 4 Woman's Hour studio. I'm Jane Garvey, this is Anna Whitehouse, there we are, also known as Mother Pucker, and here's the very shy, retiring, I am worried for him, Jonathan Saccone Joly. Jonathan, can you say something? Whisper. Welcome. That's it, that's lovely.
So creepy.
He's been practising his Radio 4 voice. And
I wanted to do the shipping forecast.
Yeah,
I was hoping
that might still be possible.
There might be a job. If YouTube doesn't work out, good morning and welcome to Radio 4.
No.
No, come on!
Radio 4.
Radio 4.
We want your questions, so get them in now. I've got the screen here, so I should be able to see them, so make sure you get in touch. First of all, I just want a quick catch-up about what it was like to be on Radio 4 for you both. So, Anna, was it everything you'd imagined? Or worse?
It was emotional, Jane.
Oh, yeah, it was certainly emotional.
No, I think we got the full gamut of sort of single parenthood right the way through to sort of loneliness, which I think we all feel in one 24-hour period as a parent, whether you're 64 or whether you're sort of 34.
Yeah.
But no, it was great.
Actually, I was thinking about you because you're about to have your second child.
Yeah.
And Bonnie's phone call about being awake in the night on her own, it just took me right back. I've definitely been there. Did it make you then think about what you've got ahead of you?
It did, actually. I think it's hearing it again. You're in this sort of utopian place when you're sort of 6 months pregnant, where it's names and nurseries, but actually it is quite a darkness does descend. Definitely.
It is hard for the dads, though.
We're not saying it's not, darling.
Well, when you're getting out of the bed doing the night piece, I'm like, stop interrupting me.
Can I ask? I mean, do you wake up? Is it not when the child's brand new and so it's probably sleeping by the bed or something or in the room, but when it's a 9-month-old, maybe the teething stuff. Do you hear that, Jonathan?
Right now we have a 4-year-old who wants to get into our bed, a 3-year-old who wants to get into our bed, and an impending newborn. I'm not sure what's going to happen. We do not have a bed big enough to facilitate everybody, but it's going to happen. So some nights when I'm bringing Eduardo back up to bed, I'm thinking, what are we going to do? Like, we'll have a co-sleeper, but then I think what's going to happen is because Eduardo's the baby, Amelia knows she's like the grown-up, but I think when the new baby comes, Eduardo might regress a little bit.
I think I've got news for you. He will.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Let's involve the listeners. This is Ruby. Oh, yeah. Ruby wants to talk about car seat safety, Jonathan, and claims that you sometimes don't strap the kids in.
This is a
Is
hot
this
topic.
an ongoing subject?
Ongoing hot topic.
Go on, then.
Breaking news. I do it correctly. I think what happens is, you're putting kids in and out of school runs, ballet, swimming, gymnastics, everything, and sometimes, you put them on, put the car seat on, and then the old shoulder gets in, but most people don't film their lives.
No.
So that happens off camera every day to everybody. But when we're filming, sometimes, it's that moment where you're like, in its real life, it's not like, cut, all right, first position again, let's, Amelia, can we just keep the car seat on this time? It just happens.
We were reminiscing, weren't we, about, I mean, you're obviously younger than me, but that whole business, when I was a child, I would just stand up in the well of the car, fiddling with my dad's ears, stroking his hair.
That was the best when you go around corners and we'd all get crushed against the window.
That was in Ireland.
Yeah.
Are we there yet? No. In my experience, you never get there.
We're never there.
This is a serious point from Naomi, who says, wants to thank you both, actually, for talking about miscarriage. I went through this last week, she says, and it's encouraging to hear it on the radio. It's hard when the guilty feelings come for not thinking about the lost baby at all times. Naomi, I am sorry, that's miserable, and it's very, very recent. So if it helps, I mean, I've had miscarriages too, Naomi, and it is, I think without question, the worst experiences of my life. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
No, and I think we sort of said quite a lot about it, mainly because that loneliness we were talking about earlier, that's when I felt loneliest. And the only thing that bizarrely got me out of the darkness was when I was talking to my toddler about it. She knew I was pregnant and suddenly she knew I wasn't. And the question I got was, Mama, why did the baby fall out? And it was such a raw, brutal question. The next question was, can the doctor put another one in? I was like, well, I'm going to have to talk to Papa about that. Yeah. But it's a very complicated, dark, lonely time.
And this is my thought rather than Naomi's, I should say. But actually then summoning up the courage, and you do need courage to get pregnant again.
Yeah.
To think, I will do this, and this time you have to tell yourself it's going to be all right.
We got pregnant in March of 2016, and we lost a baby in, I think it was like May or June, and then we got pregnant again sometime, and now we are due a baby imminently. That's 12 months we've been pregnant.
Yes.
Because we only did 1 month, one cycle in between losing the baby and having another baby.
Yeah.
So Anna sometimes just feels, she's like, I've been pregnant for a year. You know, and like, you know, I got the tattoo to remind myself, because I have my children's names on my arms, and I was like, I really want to acknowledge the existence of this soul, even though we didn't get a gender, we don't know what it was or who they'd be. But when you have children already, and I look at Amelia and Eduardo and I think, that would have been another person. And that could have been me, that could have been you, that could have been any of us. You know, and I'm like, I want to acknowledge that and force myself to remember it and to appreciate the kids that I have.
It's a good idea. I think talking about miscarriage more freely is vital, actually. So, Naomi, thank you for that, because it's something, as I think you both said earlier on, so many of us go through at some point in our lives. Another caller, listener, Facebooker, look, I'm new to this, I'm just fumbling my way, just wants to talk about the loneliness, actually, when your kids get to be teenagers. Now, that is also a good point, because they need you, and it drives you up the wall, and you want to get away from them, and then one day they don't.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it can be quite crushing. It really
A
can.
friend of mine said that to me recently. I'm not going to name his name.
No, don't name his name.
His children are like 10 and 11 and stuff, and he said, we were talking about having more kids, and he mentioned that his daughter had made sort of a pulling away from him. And he was like, I don't know what to do. Because at the moment, Amelia, like, I am her dad. I'm big, strong dad, #1 hero, loves me, always there to pick her up and have fun and play with. But sometimes, even now, at 4 years old, she's like, I think I want to just, like, paint my nails with Mom, or I want to, like, brush my hair, you know? And then I'm like, Amelia, you said we'd be best friends forever.
You won't be.
I think I've come back to my parents,
Have you?
bizarrely, since having children.
Right.
I went through a period of I'm independent in my 20s and I don't need anyone, and then came crawling back when I had my first child. I need you. I really can't do this alone. And here we are.
And actually, that's a good point. So it just changed your relationship for the better.
100%.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like ringing your mom up and saying, I'm sorry.
I've said
Yeah.
sorry so many
I'm
times.
sorry. I didn't realise what I did.
I've hugged her, I've given her jammy Dodger biscuits, I've made her cups of tea and just said, I am sorry about that decade.
Decade? She was lucky. This is from another listener. My 5-year-old daughter often asks if I can have a baby, as she sees her friends accumulating siblings. Unfortunately, I can't have any more. That's from Stephanie. Yeah, she'd like us to talk about the challenges of having, I mean, I don't want to say just one child, but one child. I guess that is true, isn't it? Sometimes you do see that everyone else is having more. Why can't I have someone?
I think we accepted that we weren't going to have any more after we'd had our 5th miscarriage. I think I got to the point of no return on that, and we were thinking perhaps of adoption and other routes. But I knew maybe I wasn't able to sort of give my daughter a sibling. And so I think children are more, they're little adults trapped in small bodies. And I explained it, like I did with miscarriage, for no fault of mama's own. I can't have another child at this moment or ever. And I think actually that honest approach has helped us navigate that arena.
Yeah.
And the iPad.
And the digital nanny. Yeah.
This is from Jude. I'd like to hear a discussion about how to prepare our children for independence. I feel they're over-supervised, even once they're in university. My dad taught me that once I was 18, I should be able to look after myself, even though he would still have been there. I'm now a grandmother, and I still think we should allow children more freedom.
I do agree
That's
with this.
interesting.
My mother raised all of her children that at the age of 16 we were 100% self-sufficient. I'd come home from school, we'd make our own dinners, we'd have jobs straight away from like 15, 16, and we'd...
Jobs in the house? Or
No,
jobs
real jobs.
Yeah.
We'd have jobs, we'd have responsibility, we'd have to pay rent, we'd learn how to drive, we'd have to pay for our own car, our insurance, everything. I thought it was a bit mad, but you know, later on in life when I meet people the same age as me and they say they can't do things, I just think, but then doesn't everyone do that? Doesn't everyone learn how to swim and drive and do everything to survive in this world? So when I have my kids, I try to make sure that I'm like, right, well, let's try and like prepare them for the real world, not the world that they're learning about, you know, equations and long division. You know?
Oh, I'm always doing long division. I sit here in the studio, long divisioning away, like there's no tomorrow.
All we actually needed to learn about was tax returns. I'm like, please take me back. I don't
That
need
would be
maths.
good if people taught you about
Just tax returns.
I saw this morning they announced that they want to teach people about relationships in the schools. And I'm like, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
You know, to talk about the chemistry and involvement, because every time you have an argument
You're
with
talking
someone,
about tax, you're talking about relationships.
Yeah.
Well, go on, carry on.
Yeah, but like every time someone has a fight, like I come from a divorced parents, and it was pretty nasty growing up. They hated each other,
Right.
and I'd always think when I was in relationships that if I had a fight with my girlfriend, it means she was leaving.
Yeah.
And that made me a very bad in relationships because I wouldn't fight for what I want. So I tried to make sure that it took me like, I don't know, 20 failed relationships to find. I feel like that's how, when I met Anna, not this Anna, when I met my Anna, and the reason it worked out is that I am 8 years older than her, that I needed those 8 years extra for me to figure out how to actually be in a relationship with somebody. And we've been together for 10 years.
There's so much focus on, I mean, it's in the papers today, actually, whether children should learn about sex and the internet and sexting and all this stuff. But actually, Jonathan's made a good point there. Just how relationships work, how they can go wrong, is probably really important in school. I don't know how you teach it or who you'd get to teach it, I have to be honest. But anyway, what do I know? Divorced woman says nothing. This is from Faye. I have a 3-month-old baby, and I'm so glad to have had YouTube and other social platforms available to hear how experiences are for others. It's helped me to realise to trust my instinct and not worry about the so-called right thing to do. This is from Mel, a mum of 5. My kids are 26, 21, 19, 18 and 12. I can honestly say there is no right or wrong way. Each child requires different skills to keep them alive. My kids are noticeably far more juvenile than I was. That's another one who says, I think as a society we infantilise them for far too long. Anna?
I don't know. I slightly disagree. I was quite protected growing up. I was a child up until about 16, I would say. I wasn't allowed out. I lived in a little hamlet in Buckinghamshire. And I went through very quick learning when I went to university, but I actually cherished that time. I was playing hockey. I was on the pitch. I was doing, I was going to say crochet. I don't think I was doing crochet.
Well, if you were doing crochet,
I was
get it
crocheting.
out there.
I'm going to get it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually cherish that time that my parents bought for me, and I don't resent them for it. So I think it comes down to do it your way. Do it your way.
I don't think there's any wrong way.
No.
Like, don't endanger your child. But your child wants
and
you.
You don't have to be now, showing your knickers on the floor and I'm a yummy mummy or a scummy mummy or a brummy mummy. It doesn't matter.
What's a brummy mummy?
From Birmingham.
From Birmingham.
From Birmingham. You can be any mummy you want. And I think that's what we're learning now through social media.
Okay. Well, Trish says, isn't it the easiest thing in the world to tell other people how to bring up their children? Yes, it is. And so, Trish, I'm going to end with my words of wisdom, which are focus on 2 things, reliability and affection. And if you can do those 2 things, then I'm no expert, but I think it might be worth a pop.
And also watch youtube.com/Connie Joly's every day, 6 p.m.
Get the Woman's Hour podcast, much more important. Thank you very much for taking part today. Thanks to Anna and to Jonathan. Thank you very much for getting involved. Thank you.
Thank you.